Hi, in this video, I'll share how we imported our dog from Thailand to United States without having a US uh, vaccination. So in order to be able to do that, your dog has to be at least 6 months old, being vaccinated in a foreign country, has a ISO compliant microchip, appear healthy upon arrival, and have a list of documents that we'll talk about right now. Quick note here, we imported her from Thailand, which is a high-risk country, meaning that there's a big number of rabies cases in the country. And even though our dog has Polish documents and was vaccinated in Poland, which isn't a red country, we still, because the dog was in Thailand even for one day, we still has to go through this process. And we need to have our dog revaccinated in the United States with American vaccine. So the main thing is to have your rabies vaccine up to date by the time of your planned arrival. I do recommend planning your trip at least 2 months in advance, so you have enough time to prepare in case you don't have necessary documents. For example, usually the titer serology test, we will talk about it in a second. Usually it's done about in a month. So you need to have this time in advance to be prepared, as well as communication with airlines can be frustrating and tough. So you need to have, as I said, you should have this time in advance. So in case something goes wrong, because this has happened to us, for example. So step one is to prepare your rabies vaccine. It should be up to date, as we said. You need to do your serology titer test. And the very important thing here is that the tests must be done by the laboratory that is approved by CDC. You have to specifically research on the CDC website the list of laboratories that do that. If you're in a country that doesn't have an approved laboratory in them, your regular veterinary will take the blood and send the samples to another country that has this laboratory approved by CDC. This is a crucial step. If you do that in an unapproved laboratory, unfortunately, the CDC cannot use this tests. Next, very, very important step is to research your airlines and do this very thoroughly, because what happened to us, for example, is we were flying from Thailand and we thought to go through Korea. So we're using Korean Airlines, and initially they sent us, yes, we can accept your dog, travel into LAX, which one of the 6 approved ports of entries with approved animal care facility by CDC. But by the time we completed some documents, something changed, and we booked the tickets, and then we realized the same day that they said that we no longer accept dogs in this flight. And we are very fortunate that Korean Airlines had a policy to cancel tickets without any fees in 24 hours. So we canceled that and had to do the research all over again. We took Turkish Airlines. I had to fly almost 2/3 of the world back instead of flying directly through Pacific Ocean. And the reason for that is that Turkish Airlines are usually very friendly towards pets, especially pets in the cabin, because our dog is pretty small and we were able to take it with us. But Turkish Airlines are very, very bad at communicating. Their customer support are not aware about the process of how to add the dog to the flight, and it was very painful. I almost cried multiple times because of spending hours and hours communicating to them. I even had to reach out to some executive levels on LinkedIn in order for us to be able to get our dog approved on this flight. So once you've selected the airport you want to fly in, first of all, before you even book the tickets, you need to contact animal care facility and double check with them if the flight you want to take is, if they can accept your dog, if everything's fine, if they have the capacity for the day you want to fly, just to confirm it works. And once they do that, you're good to go to select your airlines that you want to fly with and book the tickets or reserve them. So once you've selected your airlines, you double check with them that they can take your dog or cat with you on the flight. You have everything ready. You may book the tickets or reserve them if this is an option with your airline, because something may go wrong, right? So it's better to have this option just to reserve them just in case. So once you completed your booking with the airlines, you're good to go to proceed with booking your service with animal care facility. And to do that, first of all, you need to complete the form on their website. and then complete CDC import form on CDC website. And with this document, you then come back to animal care facility and attach also your personal details about your dog, vaccination records, serology, titer tests, and travel itinerary. Also, to book the service with them, you'll need to pay the booking fee, which is a part of the total cost, which for us was $1,700 something dollars, if I remember correctly, altogether. But the initial fee we paid was a couple $100. Quick remark here: what happened to us is our airlines canceled the flight on this day, and we had to reschedule. And our animal care facility, with no problems, rescheduled us on another day, even though they said that there's no reschedules once the booking fee is paid. So everybody is human. I assume that all animal care facility have some flexibility, especially if you book in advance and you have the enough time for this. Once you have this, now you can go to your government veterinary body to complete your, how's it called, certification of foreign rabies vaccination and microchip. Right. So you now again need to prepare all the documents you had, but most importantly is this approval letter from animal care facility you just received, as well as titer serology, rabies vaccine. Probably import that to this country where you are from, unless your dog was raised here. And this might be tricky because US tend to change policies, and the country you're exporting from may not know the new procedure. So for us, I had to educate all of the government body on how to properly do that. They were reading very carefully every word of the website, and they were trying to force us to complete the section F with the like regular veterinary, not government body. But it's clearly said on the website that the government body may fill out the section F as well, so they can review your dog and say if it's healthy and sign this too. So it not necessarily has to be by a private veterinary, but it may be too. So in case you do that, then there is a bit of tricky part because this document must be filled online, not typed. So it's have to be filled and typed, not written down by hand. This is very important. Especially if you're exporting from a country like Thailand that doesn't use Latin letters, it might be not readable. This is very important to have it completed correctly. But here's an issue: if you go with this document to firstly to your normal veterinary, right, and they will fill it out and probably print it right for you, or just leave it blank. Not always like once they do that, then the government body probably won't be able to edit the document the same way they had to, and they would probably need to use some software like Adobe Reader, which not everyone might have that. So if they force you to have this document signed by a normal veterinary, there is a problem. Since it has to be manually like typed and not written down by hand, once your normal veterinary will fill out the document, print it to sign by hand, which is also necessary, then this document can no longer be typed, right? Because you need to scan it again in order to be typed. So there is a tricky part that I don't have an answer to, except for a government body to fill out both fields like F and the G sections. Very important note here is to double check very, very carefully what the government body does in this document, because in our case, they did tons of mistakes that we had to fix. And one of them we didn't notice immediately, and we had to drive there again to retype the document. So it just takes time. So be very careful, because they won't be careful probably. They don't really care about what they're doing. As long as the dog is exported from their country, they no longer care, right? What's going to happen on the import side. Right. And basically, once you have this document, you are almost all set, I would say, because after you have this, the process runs very smooth. So what happened to us in the airport, they almost didn't check the documents. Like they just took a look and it said, okay, it's fine, and didn't really invest much time into it and to check in if it's all correct, as long as we had all the documents needed. And once we arrived to the United States, it was actually very interesting, because we were able to go out into the city, and there was zero control for our dog. We asked, where do we need to go to do the dogs for our dog? And eventually we find out that we had to manually go through the imports. So the imports guys called the animal care facility that wasn't answering us, because what must have happened is that the animal care facility should have been waiting for us, um, to, as soon as we arrived, to take our dog, because as long as it's not revaccinated with US vaccine, it's considered unsafe, right? And so what happened is the import officer called them, uh, agreed with them that they will come to the airport. So we were waiting for them outside with the dog. We were able to just take taxi and leave. Nobody would check it, but of course we waited for the guys to pick up our dog. And the next day, they sent us a message saying, "Hey, your dog is ready to pick up. Vaccinated, everything's fine." I have to say that from the photos I saw, the animal care facility looks okay. Looked okay inside. I can't say that it looked bad. Um, we also gave, by the way, our food, so there's a bit more comfort to our dog. But what happened to us is, after that, once we picked up our dog, she started eating other dogs' poop, which is very unusual. It never happened to us before. We would think it might be stress, so we're not sure what our dog had to go through with this process. But it is what it is. I mean, this is the process. We can't do nothing with it, but to comply. But it's just something to be aware for you. And actually, in a month, I believe, or two, she just naturally stopped doing this without any intervention and medication. I hope this video helped you. If it did, please leave a like, comment. This way, YouTube algorithm knows that it was helpful and promote it to other people that might be, for whom it might be helpful.